Hello, we're at Shoe Healer in Doncaster and we've just had a gentleman in, Peter. Did you say Peter?
Peter, yeah.
From Northumberland. Yeah, Paul should have a microphone on really when he's doing his, adding his 2 pence worth to my videos. He's come from Northumberland, brought 2 pair of shoes down for repair. Lovely chap. He saw a video which is great. I mean, it really is. These videos are so good for business for us here. Paul, I asked Paul, I said, how much of your work is coming in from the videos, from people seeing you all over the world and sending the shoes in or bringing them in? He said 75% of his work is coming in through these videos. So that's amazing, absolutely amazing. So thank you very much for that. Anyway, Peter brought these shoes in, lovely old shoes. They say Savile Row inside. We can't quite get who's making them. The one thing about them that's a little bit of a drawback, everything is beautiful. They are like a fiberboard, cardboard, compressed material insole on them, which is held up really well. No, Sergeants did make some like that. They did, yes, they did. If you remember, we had some boots from them that were like that, and all they were done is made to a price, made them affordable. And these were bought in the 70s. So, you know, this is what it was in the 70s. You can't moan about it. This is how some shoes were made, and they were made on this fiberboard insole. We all accepted it. The through sole, if you see the through sole runs all the way through the top sole there, look, and then it's spliced in on the heel just there to a little piece. So it's a 3/4 sole on there and then just a piece spliced in. At some point they've been repaired, and the repairer has put a piece of leather in, chopped out the lifts and put a repair piece in there. We'll strip that down, we'll get to that in a minute. But the shoes are rock hard. They've had no nourishment on them at all. Look at this here, can you just see that? I put my glasses on. Can you see the cracks there? Look, you see this leather is really rock hard, and the customer said, I said, oh, you get some nourishment on them, and he said, oh, I'll put a bit of cream on or something. But we've got, I'm going to do this for him, we've got some of this Sapphire Napa cream nourishment, whatever it is, and it smells beautiful, but it's gone really runny. We've got maybe 20 jars of this, so anybody wants some of this, it'll be nice and cheap. It's got a sell-by date on the bottom of 2021. But I think it will still have its properties. And I said to Paul, what do you think about putting that onto this dry, hard, cracked leather? And he said, better than note.
It's not going to hurt, is it? Not going to do it any damage, is it?
Not going to do it any damage, no. So I'm going to take my little sponge here and just work a little bit of this before Paul gets hold of these shoes. Work some of this nourishment. And I spoke to you, Rob, haven't I? And you said this is great stuff, although it's out of date. We can't think it's going to do it any harm. Definitely. Going to make it softer, surely. And look at the colour that's coming up.
Normally, you'd be using Renovator, wouldn't you? But this is pure nourishment.
Normally, I wouldn't be doing them. I'd be leaving them and saying to the customer,
exactly, you're only doing it because
this is what you want to buy. So I'm only doing it because we happen to have lots of this stuff about, and it looks like it's going in there. And what I want to do is come back to it when it's soaked in and just see if the leather is starting to soften up a little bit, rather than this rock hard. Look, you just see the white there, the cracks where it's just, you know, just not going to be good. Anyway, that's the stuff. That's what we're going to work in. A good bit of this here. We're not going to overdo it, but we have got some of this old stock. True Yorkshireman, don't want to get rid of it. I'd sooner sell it if we can, but it has gone a little bit runny. And it is out of date. But how bad can it be? You know, probably half price. Anyway, here we go on this here. Right, now, I just want you to have a look at this heel, how this heel was done. Let's just have a look under this heel. See if we can get that to lift off nicely. This is the leather top piece. And then the steel part. course, this is having a full rebuild. What's he having on these, Paul?
Commando.
Commando. It's just...
It took me 3 days to get all the stitching in.
Yeah, don't know if you can hear Paul there, but he's chelping about. Taking him 3 days to get all the stitching out, which he won't do. He's exaggerating a little bit. Right, so I'm lifting this off of here just to be able to show you back when we started, me and Paul. Everybody on the shoes here held them down a little bit too far. So instead of putting a full piece in there, they've had this piece here, a repair piece, put in. A repair piece there, look at that there. Look. So the gentleman's worn his heel down, he's worn it into the heel stack. So the repairer has just nailed in a piece of leather like that. So with the way we did this is on the bench there would have been a chopping knife, quite a sturdy knife. It would all be braid on the back where it'd been hammered in. So where this top piece had been worn down, we would put that on there like that and bray in, bang, 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 into there to cut through just the first layer that had been worn off, been overly worn. So he's worn through the heel and taken into the heel stack, the top lift, the top layer. All these layers of leather in the heel stack are called lifts. So then we would take an offcut of leather and we would glue this up and we would put this on and put 2 rivets in, 2 good long rivets in, and we would put it on like this and then pull it back so it was sprung loaded, and then let it go again and rivet it down properly. And that would keep tension on the 2 joints so that when you machined it round you didn't see the 2 joints, and that would leave us with that piece in there like that, and then we carry on with the standard repair, put the heel on, whatever was needed. We did a lot of this in the time. Occasionally you come across a plastic heel and you had to machine that out, but the same sort of thing. You would just rub a bit of leather into there, or you would build it back up with some skivers, and which were thinned off pieces of leather, and build it back up. The good old days. Anyway, we'll get this stripped down and get the full repair done, and hopefully I will get some pictures of it. Look at this old leather here, it's all a bit rough.
Not like the last one, not like the last video.
The last video, did we not get all the pictures of it?
No, you went as far as this, did it end?
Oh, well, sometimes I just forget, we get busy. So that's the heel stack off. That's the sole, look there, 3/4 sole, pieced in at the back. That would be from factory. Nowadays we go all the way through, we don't bother with this. But if you were doing a cheaper repair, you would take that off and you would just put back on there a 3/4 sole again, 3/4 through sole. Right, so we'll machine the stitches out and then pull that sole off. So, listen, I've just put it on the machine and machined the top of the stitches off because naturally that's what I do. But in years gone by, and we're talking about old style repairing, in years gone by, my father, he would take his knife, and this is a Barnsley knife, a full Barnsley knife. Eventually these wear down to nothing and then they break off and you end up with a stubby little knife, and that would be his stripping knife. And he would put the knife in to the stitches. Can you see that there? Look like that. And then into the stitches, and then just run the knife around like this, as quick as this. Oh, we've got nails here, look, we've got nails there, that's gonna bugger his knife up. And then back in again, round here like that, round there, and run that
Is that a
all
stirrup?
the way down. Yes, this is,
Is that the stirrup that had fell down the machine in the last video? That's the way you were just talking about that in the last video.
I found it, and I love a stirrup. Well, I've overdone it there. Look, that's I'm just not used to using. Nobody uses a stirrup nowadays, but we always did.
It's funny you said that. That was literally in that last video
Was
where he was talking about it. He was saying, "Oh, you don't use a stirrup." He said it's fell out back of that machine.
That's it, and the sole's off now. The 3/4 sole is off. not through pulling it off, through actually cutting the stitches off. And that's absolutely fine. It's had a repair before. Look, this is where we can just see. This wasn't original, this was a repair. But before that, this shoe has had a half sole. And they've riveted through on the half sole. And it's broke the midsole. And it makes a bit of a mess of the insole as well. So this shoe has got to, I don't know if it's down for a midsole, but I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Let's have a look here, see if we can get this. Oh, it's a good thick midsole on these. A really good thick midsole. So let's get this piece off at the back here. I'm hitting some nails as I cut this. I'm just cutting those stitches out like we did at the front.
But he never wanted.
And in the day, they'd be doing this so quick, blasting through it, get this repair done, ready for the next repair.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine you standing there doing 8 piece. How long that's going to take?
Yep, that's broke straight across there, but it is leather. It's not fiberboard, it is leather. Very thick leather. The cork looks good, but obviously at this age it'll get replaced. Lovely, right. So, there we are. Let's have a look now at the cork and the shank. The shank is still good. Not a very big shank, but look at that shank. It's done so well. It really has. Paul will replace that with a little bit bigger shank. The cork has gone relatively. It's not as bad as some. Some you take the sole off and all this is just dust and it all falls away because it's that old. So Paul will get all this out of here. This is what Paul does. I'm just helping him out for the videos. All of that out, wheedle it all out, all the stitching out. Paul loves that. He's going to have some fun with these. The uppers are feeling a lot better with that.
Paul loves what?
Taking stitches out.
Oh God, yeah.
4 rows in here. You're going to love that.
Oh yeah.
And then look at that. Look. Seat, tennis seat on there. Not welted all the way around. Stitched all the way around, but just through a seat piece fastened on.
It's all that lot.
All done to save a bit of money. But lovely pair of shoes.
How many rows of stitches?
Lots of stitching in there.
Oh,
Yep.
lovely job.
Lovely jubbly. Right, okay, hopefully we'll catch this as it goes through the repair process. Yeah, we say that every time. Right out, done. Okay, so here's the shoes done. You've seen all the process we go through of corking and midsoles going on and stitching and heel stacks going on. You've seen all that a dozen times. If you haven't, there's 100 videos below this one that will show you all that. These are the shoes. I'm blown away with these. How nice do they look? Just look at that there. The welt was stitched to hell, and Paul has just done what he can to get that stitching nice, best he can, because it had just so many rows of stitching in. Look at the edge of that heel stack there. It's just beautiful. What a lovely, lovely repair. Come up really nice. We put some of that Napa cream on there. But to be honest, it didn't seem to do a lot of anything, which is a shame because we've got quite a bit of it left that's out of date and it's all gone runny. But again, I'm sure it did some good, but not a lot of good. But then Rob stepped in and he has an art of just sorting these things out. And he went over this leather with some, just come in and have a look how good they look. He went over with some cleaner, put some cleaner on them and cleaned them up a little bit. Didn't take long, just did a little bit of a mild cleaner. This is the cleaner, is it? Yeah, this is the cleaner. And then he went over with some renovateur, and Anne's laughing at me over there. 20 quid for this Renovitier. So, and then he went over with this mahogany. Is it mahogany colour? Yeah, mahogany number 9, sapphire cream. And this is what's happened, and they look great. I'm blown away. We've put some fresh laces in. Of course, the leather's still a little bit tough, but it's far better. They're going to be beautiful shoes for such a long time. These are. They're going to last forever now, these are. And I hope this customer looks after them. So when we take this Tricker's shoe, it's not a shoe tree, it's a shoe former. Out of here, we see that Paul's put a back lining where there was some damage around the back. Look on the outside there. Look, don't look too closely, too quick, because that's just to reinforce the back. Inside, the name in there is Savile Row. We've just been online and had a quick look, and apparently the company is, I've got it wrote down here so I could remember, it's George Webb. And they were making shoes, started George Webb Sons, 1927 to 1982. They finally went out of business. And then you started to see Savile Row by Barker. So I don't know how Barker got involved. Maybe Barker took over the last of their stock. But you started to see Savile Row by Barker, apparently. Anyway, that's the shoes, all done. Paul's done a great job again. Well done, Paul.
Thank you.
Absolutely spot on. And no, it's not, is it? You know, it's yeah, lovely pair of shoes, all done. I know you didn't see all the repair, but it's fine. You've seen it all before.